The ship that emerged from the space tear above Kepler 442b was bigger than anything anyone had ever seen. It was the size of a small moon, but moved like a living creature. Its surface seemed to shift and change as if it was made of the same adaptive material that human cells had shown under stress. Admiral Oh Seung-hwan watched from the bridge of the human exploration vessel, Sejong, as 17 different alien fleets positioned themselves between the mysterious ship and the planet below. The transformed colonists of New Seoul had fallen silent, their glowing eyes fixed on the arrival with what could only be described as recognition. Admiral called Commander No Jung-min from the communications station. "We are receiving a transmission. It is in every human language at the same time. Put it through." The voice that filled the bridge was clearly human but carried sounds and tones that spoke of vast age and incredible wisdom. When it spoke, every human who heard it felt something deep in their genetic memory stir in response. "Children of Earth, inheritors of the promise, you have finally begun to awaken." The alien fleets were in full combat formation now, their weapons charging with energies that could destroy planets. But the massive ship seemed unconcerned by their threat. "I am Architect Chen Wei-long of the Ascended Human Collective, speaking to you across 47,000 years of time and the depths of space itself. What your new alien friends have discovered about your biology is correct, and it should terrify them down on the planet's surface." Dr. Lim Soo-ah and the other transformed colonists had begun to glow with the same energy that came from the ship above. Their genetic transformation was speeding up, guided by signals from orbit. Admiral Jung-min reported, "The Galactic Council ships are demanding that we surrender the transformed humans for processing. They are claiming that evolved humans represent an existential threat to galactic civilization." Seung-hwan watched as the colonists below began to rise into the air, their bodies surrounded by fields of energy that allowed them to fly without any visible means of propulsion. The transmission continued. Humanity was never meant to be limited by conventional biology. Your species carries within its genetic code the accumulated knowledge and capabilities of a civilization that transcended physical existence millennia ago. We planted that code in your ancestors as a gift and as a safeguard on the surface. Colonel Ryu Taiwan found himself surrounded by transformed humans whose abilities were growing by the minute. Corporal Shin Da-hai now existed as much as energy as matter. Her consciousness expanded to encompass the entire colony communication. Network engineer Kwon Jae-ho body had become a living tool capable of manipulating matter at the molecular level. Colonel Da-hai voice resonated from everywhere at once. "We can see the truth now. Humanity, chaotic biology, our impossible survival rates, our tendency to thrive in conditions that should kill us, it was all preparation." Preparation for what? Dr. Lim Soo-ah materialized beside him, her transformed state allowing her to exist in multiple locations simultaneously. For this moment, for the time when humanity would need to evolve rapidly to face a threat that conventional biology could not handle. The architect voice continued from orbit. "The beings you call the Galactic Council represent the old paradigm species that achieved technological advancement through careful, cautious evolution over millions of years. They are stable, predictable, and ultimately limited. Humanity represents chaos, adaptation, and unlimited potential." The alien fleets opened fire on the ascended ship, unleashing energies that could crack moons. The weapons struck the ship hull and were simply absorbed, converted into more energy for the vessel. "Impossible systems. Your biology makes no sense because it was never meant to make sense by conventional standards," the architect explained. "Every design flaw in human anatomy is actually a feature, a backup system, an adaptation trigger, a pathway to transcendence. Your single heart beats stronger under pressure. Your fragile bones become unbreakable when survival demands it. Your limited brain can expand beyond physical constraints when necessity calls." Admiral Seung-hwan made a decision that would echo through galactic history. All human ships form a protective perimeter around New Seoul. We do not abandon our people. The transformed colonists were now rising toward their ancestral ship, their bodies becoming beings of pure energy and will. But they paused, looking back at the baseline humans, still on the surface. "We do not have to leave you behind, Soo-ah," said her voice, carrying across space to reach the human ships. "The activation can be shared. The evolution can include everyone. The choice is yours." The architect added, "Remain as you are and face the future with conventional biology. Or embrace your true heritage and become what humanity was always destined to be." Taewon looked up at the colonists floating above him, then at the alien fleets preparing for another assault on the ascended ship. He thought about everything they had learned about human biology, about the impossible survival stories, about the dormant genetic code that carried the blueprint for transcendence. What happens to the rest of the galaxy? If we evolve, Sua smiled, her form now more energy than matter. That depends on whether they choose to see evolved humanity as a threat to be destroyed or as an opportunity to transcend their own limitations. The Galactic Council fleets were regrouping for another attack, their fear of human potential overriding their normally cautious nature. But the transformed humans were no longer defenseless colonists. They were becoming something beyond the Council. Ability to comprehend or contain, the age of conventional biology is ending. The architect announced, the age of conscious evolution has begun, and humanity will lead the way whether the galaxy is ready or not, as the first transformed humans reached their ancestral ship and began to merge with its impossible technology. The future of 17 civilizations hung in the balance. The galaxy was about to learn that human anatomy did not make sense for a very good reason. It was never meant to be limited by sense at all. Taewon made his choice as hundreds of other baseline humans across the planet did the same. The genetic activation spread like wildfire, carried by choice rather than chance. Each human who accepted the transformation felt their dormant code awakening, felt the accumulated wisdom of 47,000 years of human evolution flooding their consciousness. The alien fleets fired again, but this time their weapons were met by a barrier of pure energy created by the combined will of thousands of evolving humans. The transformed colonists no longer needed the ancestral ship to guide them. They had become a collective consciousness that spanned planets. Vexteler voice crackled across all communication channels. Emergency retreat. All council ships withdraw immediately. The humans have achieved collective ascension, but it was too late. The transformation had reached critical mass. Humans across the galaxy felt the call in their genetic memory. The dormant switches that had waited for millennia began to activate everywhere. Admiral Seung-hwan looked out at the stars, knowing that humanity had just taken its next evolutionary step. The galaxy would never be the same. Some aliens would fight the change, others would ask to join it. But one thing was certain. Human anatomy had never made sense because it was designed for this moment. When biology would give way to something greater. When humanity would become the bridge between what was and what could be in the depths of space. A new chapter of galactic history began, written in genetic code that defied every known law of existence. Colonel Ryu Taewon had seen combat in 3 different conflicts during his military career, but nothing had prepared him for watching his own species undergo rapid biological evolution in real time. The human settlement of New Seoul on Kepler 442b had been established only 6 weeks ago, a peaceful colony of 2,000 volunteers meant to serve as humanity's first permanent foothold among the stars. Now, as Taewon walked through the settlement's medical center, he was witnessing something that challenged every assumption about human biology. Dr. Jung Hyejin looked up from her patient as Taewon entered the ward. Her face was pale with exhaustion and something that might have been fear. "Colonel, you need to see this," she said, pointing to the woman lying on the examination table. The patient was Corporal Shin Da-hai, a communications specialist who had been experiencing what they initially thought was altitude sickness. Now, as Taewon looked at her, he could see that something far more profound was happening. Her lung capacity has increased by 40% in the last 72 hours. Hyejin reported in a clinical tone that barely masked her amazement. Her red blood cell count is off the charts, and her brain is showing activity patterns we have never documented in baseline humans. Da-hai eyes opened, and Taewon was startled to see that they had changed color, shifting from brown to an unusual golden hue. When she spoke, her voice carried an odd, harmonic quality. "Colonel, I can hear them," she said quietly. Hear who, Corporal? All of them. The other colonists, their thoughts, their fears, their changes. Day-High sat up slowly, moving with a fluid grace that seemed almost inhuman. We are all connected now. The genetic activation, that the aliens detected it, is not just random evolution. It is coordinated. Hai-Jin pulled Tae-Wan aside. It is not just her colonel. We are seeing similar changes throughout the colony. Enhanced physical capabilities, increased sensory perception, and what appears to be developing telepathic connections between individuals. How many are affected? All of them. Every single human in the colony is undergoing some form of genetic activation. But here is the strange part. The changes seem to be complementary. Some are developing enhanced strength, others improved intellect. Some are manifesting abilities. We do not even have names for. Tae-Wan felt a chill run down his spine. It is like they are becoming specialized, or like they are becoming parts of something larger. The medical center communication system activated, and the voice of Lieutenant Park Gi-tae, the colony security chief, crackled through the speakers. Colonel Ryu, you need to get to the perimeter immediately. We have visitors. Tae-Wan grabbed his sidearm and headed for the exit, Hai-Jin close behind him. As they stepped outside, he could see what Gi-tae meant. The sky above New Seoul was filled with alien ships, dozens of them representing every member species of the Galactic Council, but more disturbing was what he saw among the colonists. They had gathered in the settlement central plaza, not in panic or confusion, but with a purposeful organization that seemed to emerge spontaneously. They moved with coordinated precision, their enhanced abilities working in perfect harmony. Colonel, came a voice behind him. He turned to see Engineer Kwon Jae-ho, whose physical transformation was even more dramatic than Dahai. The man muscle mass had increased significantly. His skin had taken on a metallic sheen, and his hands now ended in fingers that looked more like precision tools than human digits. Jae-ho. What is happening to you people? We are becoming what we were always meant to be. Jae-ho replied, his voice carrying the same harmonic quality as Dahai. The dormant genetic code that the aliens discovered, it was not just random evolutionary potential. It was a program. A blueprint. A blueprint for what? Jae-ho smiled. And Tae-Wan was disturbed to see that his teeth had changed as well, becoming sharper, more efficient, for survival, for adaptation, for becoming something that can thrive in any environment, face any threat, overcome any obstacle. The lead alien ship began to descend toward the colony, and Tae-Wan could see Vorthak and other council species emerging from landing craft around the perimeter. They were armed. They are afraid of us, Hai-Jin observed. They should be said. A new voice. Tae-Wan turned to see Dr. Lim Sua, the colony chief scientist, approaching with a group of other transformed colonists. Her transformation was perhaps the most dramatic of all. Her brain case had visibly enlarged, her eyes now glowed with an inner light, and when she moved, it was with the calculated precision of someone processing information. At superhuman speed, Sua, you need to help me understand what is happening here. The genetic activation was triggered by exposure to this planet, unique electromagnetic field, she explained, speaking faster than should have been physically possible. The dormant sequences in human DNA were not random mutations. They were planted, designed by whoever originally seeded humanity. Genetic code, seeded by whom? Sua, glowing eyes fixed on him. We do not know yet, but we are about to find out. The final activation sequence is beginning now. As if responding to her words, every transformed human in the colony suddenly turned their attention skyward. Their enhanced senses had detected something that Tae-Wan baseline human perception could not pick. What is it? He asked. They are coming. Day-High said, her voice now carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate in Tae-Wan bones. The ones who made us, the ones who gave us the code high above the planet, space itself, began to ripple with an energy signature, unlike anything in known physics. Colonel Gi-tae's voice crackled over the comm. We are detecting massive spatial distortions in orbit. Something big is coming through. Tae-Wan looked around at the transformed colonists, then at the approaching alien forces, then at the sky where reality itself seemed to be bending. "I think," he said quietly, "we are about to learn why human anatomy makes no sense, and why that should scare everyone." The transformed humans began to rise into the air, their bodies surrounded by fields of energy that allowed them to fly without any visible means of propulsion. Their golden eyes all fixed on the same point in space where something impossible was about to emerge. A voice reached him from above, carried on energy waves. Rather than sound, the programming in our DNA was not just for evolution. Colonel, it was a beacon, a signal to call our creators home. The alien ships around the perimeter powered up their weapons, but the transformed humans paid them no attention. They were focused entirely on the growing distortion in space above them. Whatever was coming through that dimensional rift had been waiting for this moment, waiting for humanity to activate the genetic switches that would serve as a cosmic phone, call across time and space. Taewon realized that first contact with alien species had been just the beginning. The real first contact was about to happen, and it would be with humanity's own forgotten ancestors. The sky split open, and something vast and impossible began to emerge. Dr. Han Soo-jin had always been proud of her work at the Seoul National University Advanced Genetics Laboratory, but standing in an underground bunker on Kepler 442b, surrounded by panicked alien scientists, she was beginning to question her career choices. It had been 2 months since the Galactic Council emergency meeting, and instead of the peaceful cultural exchange they had hoped for, the human delegation now found themselves basically under house arrest, while 17 alien civilizations debated what to do about the human problem show. The results, Vextalar commanded his assistant, a smaller crystal being named Kethmore. The light picture appeared in front of Soo-jin showing DNA sequences she recognized from her own research, but with notes in alien writing that made her blood run cold. "These are human genome samples," she said carefully. "But what are all these markers?" Kethmore crystal form pulsed with nervous energy. "Activation sites. We have identified over 2 million genetic switches in human DNA that appeared to be locked in the off position." Captain Kim Won-ho, who had been quietly watching from the corner, stepped forward. "What kind of switches?" Vextalar changed the light picture, zooming in on specific sequences. "Enhanced neural processing, increased bone density, accelerated healing, improved oxygen efficiency, electromagnetic sensitivity, radiation resistance." The list continues for pages. Soo-jin felt her scientific curiosity fighting with a growing sense of dread. "That is impossible. If humans had those abilities, we would know about it." "Would you?" Kethmore asked quietly. "According to our analysis, these genetic switches can be triggered by extreme stress, life-threatening situations, or specific environmental factors. They activate temporarily, then return to sleep." The implications hit Soo-jin like a physical blow. "You are talking about survival situations, fight or flight responses. We are talking about something far beyond that." Vextalar corrected. "We are talking about a species that carries within its genetic code the blueprint for evolution on demand." Won-ho crossed his arms. "Even if that were true, and I am not saying it is, why would that frighten you? Should not advanced aliens like yourselves be excited about scientific discoveries?" The room fell silent except for the humming of alien technology. Finally, Vextalar spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "Captain Kim, 3 days ago, we conducted a stress test on volunteer human tissue samples. Nothing invasive, simply exposing cells to various environmental pressures to see if we could trigger any of these dormant sequences." Soo-jin felt her heart rate increase. "What kind of test? Radiation exposure, temperature extremes, chemical toxins, electromagnetic pulses?" Kethmore's voice trailed off, and Won-ho prompted. The cells began to adapt. "In real time, we watched human DNA literally rewrite itself to survive conditions that would sterilize any known life form. But that is not the frightening part." Soo-jin was almost afraid to ask, "What is the frightening part?" The adapted cells began to communicate with each other. They started forming networks, sharing information, coordinating responses. It was as if they were learning. Vextalar changed the light picture, again showing microscopic footage of human cells undergoing rapid transformation. We terminated the experiment when the cells began attempting to breach containment. One Ho stared at the display. You are saying human cells tried to escape. We are saying human cells demonstrated problem-solving capabilities, collective intelligence, and adaptive strategies that we have never observed in any biological system. They were not simply surviving. They were evolving with purpose. Su Jin sank into a nearby chair, her mind spinning. How is that possible? We believe Kethmore said carefully that humans may be carrying dormant genetic programming from a far more ancient and advanced civilization. Perhaps your ancestors, perhaps genetic manipulation from an unknown source. But the code is there waiting for what Vex-Taylor crystal form dimmed, for the right trigger, for the right threat, for the right moment when humanity needs to become something more than human. The room's communication system, suddenly, crackled to life. Dr. Vex-Taylor, this is the monitoring station. We have a situation. What kind of situation? The human settlement ships that arrived last week, sir. We are detecting massive genetic activity in the human population. Dormant sequences are activating all across their colony. Vex-Taylor spun toward the humans. What is happening to your people? Sujin and Wan Ho exchanged glances. They had been so focused on the alien research that they had not considered what might be happening to the other humans on the planet. I do not know, Sujin admitted, but if what you are telling us is true, then humanity may be evolving. Wan Ho finished grimly, and we have no idea what we are evolving into. Through the bunker-thick walls they could hear the sound of alien emergency sirens beginning to wail across the research facility. The awakening had begun. Vex-Taylor immediately activated his communication device. Emergency Protocol 7. All research stations implement immediate lockdown. The human genetic activation event has commenced. Kethmore crystal form began to flicker rapidly. What are our orders regarding the human subjects? Vex-Taylor looked at Sujin and Wan Ho with what might have been fear or respect. Maintain containment, but do not take aggressive action. We need to understand what is happening before we act. Sujin stood up from her chair, despite the fear in her chest. What exactly is happening to the colonists? According to our sensors, Kethmore reported their genetic switches are not activating randomly. They are following a sequence, a pattern, as if the dormant code contains instructions for coordinated evolution. Wan Ho felt a chill run down his spine. Coordinated by whom? That is what terrifies us. Vex-Taylor said quietly. If human genetic code contains programming that can activate itself and coordinate its own evolution, then whoever created that programming may still be watching, still waiting. The bunker light suddenly dimmed and emergency power kicked in. The alien sirens outside grew louder and more urgent. Sujin looked at the frightened alien scientists around her. These beings had traveled between stars, built technologies that seemed like magic, and governed 17 different worlds. Yet they were terrified of human biology activating according to some ancient plan. What happens now? She asked. Vex-Taylor crystal form pulsed with uncertain light. Now, Dr. Han, we wait to see what humanity becomes, and we hope that whatever you turn into remembers that we were trying to help. Through the bunker walls they could hear new sounds, explosions, energy weapons firing, and something else. Something that sounded like human voices but changed in ways that made even Wan Ho feel afraid. The genetic activation was not just happening. In the human settlement it was spreading. And whatever the colonists were becoming, it was beyond anything the galaxy had prepared for. Sujin realized that she might be witnessing the end of baseline humanity and the beginning of something entirely new, something that had been waiting in their DNA for thousands of years for exactly this moment. The awakening protocol was in full effect, and there was no going back. 3 weeks after the scary meeting with the Vorthak scientists, Admiral Park Sung-min stood in front of the Galactic Council. The big room on the neutral planet called Kepler 442b was filled with tension as representatives from 17 different alien worlds talked about what they now called the human problem. The Vorthak had told the council what they found, and the reaction was fast, and the same from everyone. Terror Counselor Thrix of the Zilani Empire looked like a floating jellyfish made of liquid metal. She spoke first. The biological impossibility of humans is a threat we cannot measure. Our life scientists have looked at the data 17 times. By every known law of evolution and survival, humans should not exist. Sung-min kept his face calm, but inside he was confused about how first contact had gone from peaceful science sharing to what felt like a trial. Beside him stood Dr. Choi Yoon-ji, the mission's lead life scientist, and Captain Yoon Seok-jin, their military advisor. With respect, Counselor Yoon-ji said, "Just because our bodies are different from yours does not make us dangerous. We came in peace, wanting to share our knowledge and culture." A sound like nervous laughter passed through the gathered aliens. Counselor Keith of the Manthari Collective was a bug-like being with 4 arms and compound eyes. He leaned forward. "Dr. Choi, you do not understand our worry. We are not afraid of what you want to do. We are afraid of what you are." The room's central light picture turned on, showing detailed body charts that the humans had given during the cultural exchange. What had seemed like a nice gift now felt like evidence in a space courtroom. "Look," Keth continued at the human breathing system. "One pathway that can be blocked by food, liquid, or foreign objects, causing death within minutes. No backup system, no extra parts. Yet humans regularly eat food and drink liquids without dying. This suggests either incredible luck kept up for millions of years, or what Sung-min asked, though he was starting to think he did not want to know the answer. Or your species has developed abilities that go beyond known biological limits. Thrick's liquid metal form rippled with worry. Think about the human brain. It needs constant sugar and oxygen. Take away either for more than 4 minutes and damage that cannot be fixed happens. Yet humans routinely survive situations that should cause brain death. Your species has written records of people surviving underwater for over an hour, or at extreme heights where oxygen levels should cause immediate thinking failure." Captain Yoon stepped forward. "Those are extreme cases. Most humans do not survive those conditions." "Exactly," hissed Vextaler, who had been brought in as an expert witness. "Most humans die from these conditions, but some do not. And we cannot predict which ones will survive and which will not. There is no pattern, no logical explanation. It is as if some humans simply decide not to die." The room became quiet, except for the background sounds of various alien life support systems. Sung-min could feel the weight of 17 civilizations' collective fear pressing down on them. Counselor Yeath of the Hegemony looked like a walking tree made of crystal carbon. He spoke, in a voice like grinding stone. "We have studied your history records, humans. Your species has survived ice ages, volcanic winters, plagues that should have made you extinct, wars that ate entire continents. Each time when any reasonable species would have died out, humans kept going. That is called adaptation and toughness." Yoon-ji protested. "It is not supernatural, is it not, Keth?" Compound eyes fixed on her. "Your own medical records show humans surviving direct lightning strikes, falling from aircraft at deadly speed, being stabbed through vital organs and walking away. Your species produces people who can hold their breath for over 20 minutes, lift objects weighing several times their body weight, or continue working with brain injuries that would instantly kill any other known life form." Thrick's form pulsed with scary light. "We have talked with our greatest scientists, our most advanced medical workers, our leading evolution experts. The agreement is unanimous. Humans should not be able to do the things they regularly do." Vex Taylor stepped into the center of the room, his crystal form bending light into rainbow patterns. "There is one more thing. Something we discovered in our deep tissue study that we have not yet shared." The aliens leaned forward. The humans held their breath. "Human DNA contains what you call junk DNA, genetic sequences that appear to serve no function. 98% of your genetic code appears to be inactive. We assumed this was evolution garbage until we subjected it to quantum analysis." Vextaler paused, his form flickering with what the humans had learned to recognize as extreme distress. "The inactive sequences are not junk, they are sleeping. And based on our projections, if even a fraction of those sequences were to activate." He turned to face the human delegation directly. Humans would become something beyond our ability to understand or contain. The room erupted in worried sounds from 17 different species. The implications were terrifying. If humans already defied biological logic with 98% of their genetic code turned off, what would happen if that code activated? Sung Min felt his heart racing. What are you saying exactly? Counselor Thrick's liquid form began to pulse. Rapidly, we are saying, Admiral Park, that humanity may be carrying dormant genetic programming that could transform your species into something unrecognizable, something potentially unstoppable. Dr. Yunji stepped forward. That is impossible. Our scientists have studied human genetics for decades. We would know if there was hidden programming. Would you? Vexteler asked quietly. According to our analysis, these genetic switches appear to be designed to activate only under specific conditions. Extreme stress, environmental pressure, mortal danger. They would remain invisible during normal scientific study. Captain Yoon crossed his arms. Even if that were true, why would dormant genetics be a threat to anyone? Because Keth said slowly, when we ran computer models of what activated human genetics might be capable of. The results were beyond anything we have ever encountered. Enhanced strength, speed, intelligence, resistance to damage, radiation, immunity, accelerated healing, telepathic abilities, the list goes on, and that is just the beginning. Counselor Yith added, if humans can rewrite their own biology in real time, adapt to any threat, overcome any obstacle, then what happens to the rest of us? The question hung in the air, like a death sentence. 17. Alien civilizations had built their success on careful planned evolution over millions of years. Humans represented chaos, adaptation, and unlimited potential. Thrick spoke for all of them when she said, we cannot allow humanity to spread across the galaxy until we understand what you truly are. The risk is too great. Sungmin looked at his companions, then at the assembled aliens. What exactly are you proposing? Quarantine Counselor. Yith said simply. All human ships will be contained. All human colonies will be monitored. All human genetic material will be secured until we can determine if your species represents an existential threat to galactic civilization. Yunji's voice rose in anger. You cannot imprison an entire species based on theoretical genetics. We can and we will, Vextelar said, his crystal form glowing with determination. Because the alternative, Admiral Park, is allowing a species with unlimited evolutionary potential to spread unchecked across the galaxy, and that, he paused, looking directly at the human delegation, is a risk we are not willing to take. The chamber fell silent as the weight of 17 civilizations' fear settled over the humans. They had come to the stars seeking friendship and knowledge. Instead, they had found a galaxy that saw them as the ultimate threat. Admiral Sungmin realized that humanity's first contact with alien life had just become humanity's first interstellar crisis. Dr. Kim Tae-ho walked into the big white room on the alien ship and stopped moving. His eyes went wide as he saw the Vorthak scientists jumping back from the metal table where a human body lay open for study. What was supposed to be a normal science meeting had turned into something scary. The main alien scientist was tall and made of crystal. His name was Vextelar, and he was shaking as he pointed at the human body with his long, thin arms. The machine that helped them talk to each other made crackling sounds as Vextelar spoke to his friends in their own language. Then he switched to broken human words. This cannot be real, he said. No living thing survives with such chaos inside. Tae-ho had signed up for this trip to space 6 months ago. He was excited to share human knowledge with the first alien people that humans had ever met. The Vorthak seemed nice and smart and curious about how human bodies worked and how humans lived. What he did not expect was for them to be completely terrified when they found out how human bodies really worked. The Vorthak had perfect bodies that made sense. Their crystal bodies had energy tubes that flowed in straight lines. Their body parts were the same on both sides, and they had backup copies of everything. Their healing followed math rules. Everything made sense. Everything had extra parts in case something broke. Everything was built to work well and keep them alive. Humans, it seemed, were like a house built by a drunk person during an earthquake. Your heart system, Vexteller said, and his voice got higher. It has only one heart. One. And it sits to one side. If it stops, you die right away. How do you live with such a weak point that can kill you? Park, Ji-won, the mission science expert, stepped forward with a nervous smile. Well, that's why we take good care of our hearts. We exercise and eat good food. Your breathing parts. Another Vorthak. Scientist said loudly. Uses the same tube as your food. You can choke to death on your own food. What could make evolution choose such a bad design, Lee Min-ho? The team's doctor tried to explain it's actually quite good. For good, Vextaler crystal body began to glow with angry light. Your brain controls everything, but it is protected by only thin bone. It sits at the top of your body where things can hit it easily. Your backbone is one long piece holding up your whole body. It can break in many places, and each break can make you unable to move or kill you. The room became quiet, except for the humming sounds of alien machines. Taeho watched as more Vorthak scientists came around the table. Their fear was easy to feel. They had been studying pieces of human body parts for weeks, but seeing a whole human body cut open was clearly too much for them. There is something else, Vextaler whispered, and his voice became scared. Your people, you have seen that humans keep working even when they are badly hurt. Right? The human team looked at each other. Well, yes, Ji-won said slowly. Humans are pretty tough. We have good survival skills and chemicals in our blood that help us show them the war movies. Vextaler told one of his helpers a picture made of light appeared showing grainy videos from human fights throughout history. Soldiers kept fighting even when badly hurt. People living through car crashes that should have killed them. People walking for miles with broken bones to get help. This human, Vextaler pointed to a movie of a man pulling himself away from a burning car, has damage that would kill any Vorthak instantly, but he keeps moving and thinking and living. How Minho opened his mouth to explain about shock and body chemicals, and how humans deal with pain, but Vextalar cut him off. We have run computer tests by all smart calculations. Your people should have died out in the first generation. Your body is a collection of weak points held together by what can only be called stubborn refusal to follow life rules. The alien's crystal body flickered with what the humans had learned meant he was very upset. But you do not just survive. You do great things. You have taken over your planet, reached into space, built technology as good as ours. You do all of this while carrying around bodies that are basically fancy ways to kill yourselves. Taeho felt cold fear run down his back as he began to understand what Vextaler was really saying. What exactly are you telling us? Vextaler turned all of his seeing parts toward the human group. His crystal body made a low, scary sound. I am saying, Dr. Kim Taeho, that if a people as impossible as humans can not only survive but rule their world, then we may have badly underestimated what humans can really do. The other Vorthak scientists started making worried sounds. Their crystal bodies flickered with nervous light. They had spent weeks thinking humans were just another smart species that had learned to travel in space. Now they were realizing that humans might be something much more dangerous. Vextaler moved closer to the human body on the table and pointed at different parts. Your skin is thin and tears easily, but humans survive being cut and burned. Your bones break under pressure, but humans survive falls that should shatter them. Your muscles are weak compared to your body size, but humans lift things that should be impossible. He turned back to the human team. Your blood system has no backup pumps. Your breathing system has no extra paths. Your thinking system has no protection. Yet humans survive things that kill every other known life form. What are you? The question hung in the air like a threat. The alien scientists all stared at the three humans as if they were looking at monsters. Instead of the friendly first contact they had hoped for, this felt like an interrogation. Ji-won tried to smile, but it looked forced. We are just humans. We evolved on Earth like any other species. We are not special. But Vextaler crystal form pulsed with disagreement. That is what terrifies us, Dr. Park. You are special. You are so special that your very existence breaks the rules of life itself. And if you can break those rules, what other rules might you break? The machine that helped them talk started making alarm sounds. Other Vorthak scientists rushed into the room carrying data tablets and looking panicked. Vextaylor, what is it? One of them asked. The new scientist held up his data tablet. We have been monitoring human brain activity during this conversation. The readings are impossible. What do you mean impossible? The human's brain patterns are changing. They are adapting to our presence in real time. Their bodies are already starting to modify themselves just from being on our ship. All the Vorthak scientists turned to stare at the human team, with what could only be described as terror. Tae-ho looked at his friends and noticed that Ji-won's eyes seemed brighter than before, and Min-ho was standing straighter as if he was getting stronger. What is happening to us, he whispered. Vextaylor Crystal. Body began to glow with alarm light that Dr. Kim is exactly what we are afraid to find out.